It's my great honor to introduce the next recipient of the Larry Foster Award for Integrity in Public Communication, Ken Chenault. Today, Ken is chairman and managing director of the venture capital firm General Catalyst, but perhaps he's best known as chairman and chief executive officer of American Express, a position he held for 17 years. There is so much that can be said about Ken's stewardship of that iconic company, but perhaps Warren Buffett, American Express's largest shareholder, said it best upon Ken's retirement. This is what he said: Ken has been the gold standard for corporate leadership and the benchmark that I measure others against. Ken is recognized as one of the business world's experts on brands and brand management. Fortune magazine named him one of the world's 50 greatest leaders in its inaugural list in 2014 and again in 2021. Ken, together with Ken Frazier, was listed in Time 100's most influential people of 2021 for their corporate and social activism, specifically for mobilizing hundreds of corporate leaders to advocate for equitable voting rights, and for co-founding 110, a coalition of leading executives coming together to upskill, hire, and advance 1 million Black Americans over the next 10 years into family-sustaining jobs. Today at General Catalyst, Ken focuses on investing in fast-growing companies that have the potential to become large fundamental institutions. He serves on many boards, including Airbnb, Berkshire Hathaway, and the Harvard Corporation. Now, let's hear from a few individuals about Ken's impact on their lives.
Ken is an example of how you bring integrity to life in all you do as a leader, from the business decisions you make, to the stands you're willing to take, to the way that you conduct yourself personally and not just publicly.
So Ken is a phenomenal guy. In a couple words: strategic, insightful, high values, great integrity.
And I've seen it time and again. Throughout his career, Ken was able to do something that was difficult as a CEO who was African American, and that is to remain authentic, to remain committed to his community, and to remain committed to the cause for justice and freedom for all Americans.
And I can't think of a better award for Ken, because in all dimensions of his life, he has raised the bar for all of us as to what a leader with integrity does.
He's taken some really courageous, bold positions that are important, like on voter rights. He's been courageous. He's gathered support. He's argued his case based on, again, a value system and integrity.
Integrity has been integral to Ken's leadership, indeed his identity.
Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Ken Chenault.
Thank you, John, for those kind words. I am deeply honored to be awarded the Larry Foster Award from the Page Center. Thank you.
Ken, we have a few questions we'd like to ask you about. The first comes from a student. Her name is Morgan Percararo. She's a senior public relations student at James Madison University. Here's what she asked: you are known for holding strong personal values. What is a time that your values came into play and you needed to make a difficult decision?
I think that's an excellent question. Certainly, I had to confront a number of very challenging issues. But I would say that the most challenging for me was really 9/11. American Express, we lost 11 of our colleagues in the North Tower. And our businesses were severely harmed by the attack. The travel business slumped dramatically. Card spending dropped. And I had to make a decision of what was best for the company and our future. And this goes to one of, I think, the important leadership attributes that I've tried to live up to, is that I think you have to be both a decisive and caring leader. And what I decided I needed to do was I needed to, in fact, cut back our workforce by 15% at a time when the company and our people were traumatized by the event. Now, what we tried to do is we tried to implement these actions in a very compassionate way. But I think what's important is, one, I really was very focused on doing what I thought was right for the company. At the same time, I cared tremendously about the people of American Express. And so I think the value that is most important is integrity. And I think that we were able to bring about a very important set of changes at the company because I believe we adhered to core values.
It's hard to believe it's been over 20 years, but what played out at American Express under your leadership, Ken, is so vivid to this day. I have a question for you. An increasing number of CEOs and boards are embracing the idea of serving all stakeholders versus focusing on only shareholders or even focusing just on customers. Why do you think this is happening now? And how do you think about this? Some call it stakeholder capitalism.
Yeah, I think what's very important, John, and this is something I've fundamentally believe in, is that corporations exist because society allows us to exist. And we have a responsibility to help build a healthy society. And I feel this very strongly because I think as a CEO, we want to build enduring companies. If you want to build an enduring company and you're focused on long-term success, you can't ignore what happens in our society. And I think what is very important is there's a recognition in a more explicit way now that we have a wide range of stakeholders. And society is one of those stakeholders. I think what's very important, and I feel this in a very deep way, that corporations can in fact be a force for positive change. And I think what is absolutely critical is that corporations have to recognize their role in society. So I am a big supporter of stakeholder capitalism. One of the things I've been very focused on at General Catalyst is a concept that we call responsible innovation. Because the reality is technology is changing the world. Every business is very dependent on technology. And for new companies, one of the things we're telling them is focus on having a broad view of what your responsibilities are. And so responsible innovation is critical to deal with the unintended consequences of technology. We think there are 5 pillars: economic opportunity and inclusion, the environment and sustainability, openness and diversity through workforce transformation, privacy, safety and security, and then intentionality and impact. And these are pillars that we think companies starting out should have in mind, as well as companies that have been in business for a long time.
That's a lot, but they all seem to be connected to your belief about society allowing businesses to operate and our responsibilities, therefore. Here's a question from a professor, Frank Dardis. He's associate professor at Penn State. His question is this, Ken: what is the value of transparency in communication in organizations, and particularly for the role of CEO?
Yeah, I think that goes to the core of leadership. I think transparency is absolutely essential if you want to be an enduring leader, if you want to capture the hearts and minds of your people. And to me, what it really represents, my definition of integrity, is the consistency of words and actions. And I think that leaders have a responsibility to be transparent and truthful, because the most important attribute for a leader to gain is trust. And trust is not going to happen if people do not think you're being transparent. So one of the things that I talk about with CEOs is you need to talk about the context that you're operating in to make decisions. You should acknowledge where there's tension. Just as I talked about with respect to the action I took in 9/11, is you've got to be both decisive and you've got to be compassionate. But you've got to talk to the organization in a way that they understand the reasons for your actions. So I think that question goes to the core of what a leader needs to be focused on.
I have one last one briefly, Ken. I have the pleasure of working with you and Sam Palmisano at the Data and Trust Alliance. And perhaps just a comment from you as to why did you and Sam start it among the conversations you had with CEOs a few years ago?
So I think what was very important, and let me just say to everyone that Jon is our leader for the Data Trust Alliance and has made just an incredible difference. But what Sam and I thought after talking to a number of CEOs is increasingly CEOs were recognizing that they were becoming data enterprises, that every company, irrespective of industry, was a data enterprise. Secondly, the pace of change in technology was incredible. And AI and machine learning represented yet another inflection point. And so we were very concerned about unintended consequences in the use of technology. We were very concerned that we needed to put together standards. And what's important about this with the Data Trust Alliance, and you saw this in the algorithmic bias announcement that we made, was we said we have to implement. We have to take action. Simply issuing pronouncements is not enough. So I think what is very exciting to me is you have companies voluntarily coming together who in fact recognize their role in a fast-moving world, that companies need to act responsibly with the data that they have. And so I'm incredibly encouraged by what we're doing. And I think the Data Trust Alliance is an example that companies collectively, what's very important is companies collectively said, we're going to implement. That is rare. And I think it is yet another example, I think, of companies recognizing not just the responsibility they have in the company, not just the responsibility that they have with the vendors that they work with, but the responsibility that they have to society overall.
Well, Ken, thank you. It's a privilege to work with you on that particular initiative. You have so many, but it's been a pleasure to chat with you this evening and to congratulate you on this honor. Thank you, Ken, very much.
Thank you. Again, I'm deeply honored.